Good morning and welcome to Braves Country today. We are coming to you live, and Teamus Wooten is with us. Teamus, how the hell are you this morning, sir?
I am doing very well, very well. College football started, and baseball is coming up on the end. We're talking playoffs. Good time to be alive.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited myself. I'm ready for this season to start to come to an end as we're hitting the plus. Look, normally we talk nothing but Braves on Braves Country, but we've kind of combined the two, Braves Country and the Catbird seat. So we're going to talk AL East. We're going to talk NL East. We'll start off with the, you know what? Let's go ahead and start talking. Let's start off with what we were discussing off air, Teamus, just before we came on. What about that Yankees Mets game yesterday that almost turned into a full blown brouhaha?
Okay. I understand it's an in-town rivalry and all that. And Lindor kind of needed to do a little, cleaning up as far as him and the fans and all that. I think that played into it. I didn't really know it was that intense between them, though. And now they're accusing the Yankees of whistling for steal signs and stuff. I didn't see the series, so I can't say if I thought that's what happened.
So to explain that whole thing, we talked about it a little bit on this morning's show, but to basically jump to the chase on that, the Yankees evidently picked up on the fact that Taijuan Walker, starting pitcher for the Mets on Saturday evening, was tipping his pitches. Okay. And that's one thing. But the other thing would be when they're tipping the pitches, what they're saying is that the Yankee players were in the dugout. It was only a couple of them, but they were in the dugout and they were whistling. Okay. And every time that they knew it was a fastball or curveball, whatever the case may be, they were whistling and letting the batter know in the box what it is. And they were hammering the pitcher. So that's where this whole dust up comes from, is the fact that they believe that the Yankees were cheating. And there's a lot of thought process that goes through this on whether or not that's cheating or not. But the point is, this is the same thing that the Yankees were hot under the collar for the Astros doing when they were banging the trash cans, and for the Red Sox doing when the Apple Watch gate. Now, their argument's going to be, well, we weren't using technology, but what Lindor was saying was, I don't have an issue with the fact that if he's tipping a pitch and you're all discussing it in the dugout, because we talk about those kinds of things, and the guy goes up to the plate and you say, hey, if this guy does this, and it's a fastball, if he does this, it's a curveball. What he's saying is it's out of line for them to be in the dugout signaling that they know, right?
Let's call it what it is. It's Bush League is what it is.
Right. And so that's where this all comes about. I stand on the point of, yeah, he shouldn't be tipping his pitches, but you shouldn't be signaling from the dugout what the pitch is. You tell the guy going up to bat, hey, I'm just making this up because I don't know the details of it, but hey, if he touches his cap, he's about to throw a fastball, right? Sure. If he adjusts his jersey, he's about to throw a curveball. It was more detailed that it had to do with the delivery, but we'll just say that you tell me that, and I see him touch his cap, that I know what's coming, but I don't scream to you from the dugout, hey, guess what? You know what I mean? So that's where it all came from. And then did you see what happened last night that led to even more? Did you see that?
I saw the highlight. I read the article, and
so it was super entertaining, first of all.
Yeah, because I loathe both of those teams, so I really didn't. I always want the Yankees to lose, so I was glad the Mets won. Being a Red Sox fan, we still hold 86 against them, but not as much as we hate the Yankees. So, but I find it a little odd, and it's not a big deal. I'm not saying it's a big deal, but it was Lindor who kind of kicked off this whole thing, being this whole, issue with the fans and all this other stuff. But I do agree with the Mets that there are, like you said, there are ways to do it. If you're passing the guy just struck out and said, hey, if he grabs his jersey, it's a fastball. You still got to go up there and hit it. I don't, but don't be shouting or whistling or banging things from the dugout. No, I think if he's tipping his pitches, then that he's giving you the advantage, but you can take advantage of the advantage is my point. And I think whistling, if that's what they're doing, and what was it? Stanton said, no, we're just trying to lighten up the dugout. Have they ever tried to lighten up the dugout?
BS. Now I have to call BS.
Yeah, exactly.
And honestly,
in a row.
The irony of that is, that sounds like a Lindor excuse, because Lindor, for people who didn't follow this, earlier in the summer when he first signed that big contract, he got into it in the dugout with Jeff McNeil, okay, his own teammate, and it was to the point where they went down the dugout steps, and you see the rest of the team, Mets, go down there to break up whatever was going on between McNeil and Lindor. And then Lindor was asked after the game what happened, and he tried to say they saw a raccoon in the trash, and he'd never seen a raccoon before, and that was the whole reason why. And everyone was uncomfortably going,
yeah, that tracks. Yeah.
Whatever. So Lindor is known to be a liar anyways, and he's kind of a dink, to be honest with you. But it was ironic that it was the Yankees complaining, or that it was the Yankees doing the cheating for essentially. What is the difference between, my point is, what is the difference between whistling and banging a trash can? I've done both on many nights. I get the right song in my head,
Yeah, and I've went and looked for raccoons on certain nights. However, for Stanton to say, yeah, we're just trying to lighten the mood. That's why we were whistling. Have you ever heard that? And they just lost 9 games in a row. Nobody was whistling then. If you think
that's a lie.
That's a load of
lie.
caca is what that is.
That is a lie. If he wants to say I wasn't whistling, Judge wasn't whistling, because supposedly it was only 2 players. Gleyber Torres was involved. I forget the other guy. So that's supposedly what was really going on, right? But to sit there and say we just whistle. I mean, what are you, the 7 dwarfs in there? Whistle while you work? What the hell are we talking about at this point? The whole thing sounds like a lie to me. But
yeah.
And at least be better at lying, dude. I mean, come on.
And then it got to where Stanton hit the home run and slows down to a walk when he passes second base, which you don't do that either.
Which he did that because of what Lindor did prior,
right,
where he hit a home run and he told him to stop whistling. He did this number, right? Yeah. So that started, and then Lindor hits another home run and starts doing this. When I first saw it, because I was watching it live, I thought he was doing it to the Yankees dugout. I was like, here we go.
Yeah.
Talked about this in the morning show. You know who the first to jump over the gate, over the dugout fence when all that went down when the benches cleared? Everyone forgets that he plays for the Yankees.
Don Zimmer.
Rognan Odor plays for the Yankees. And he was about to, you remember the famous punch that he put on Bautista, 4 or 5 years ago?
Yeah.
He jacked his jaw. He was the first one on the wall. I was like, oh man. Please go out there and just jack Lindor.
He's one of those rare baseball players that can land a punch,
Right. I was really hoping that was gonna. No way in hell that the Mets win that fight, because not only do they have Rognan Odor, they've got the entire Yankees outfield is like this
linebackers. Yeah.
I mean, they're the only thing bigger in New York City is like the Statue of Liberty than I mean, it's just they have no shot in hell winning that fight, but it would have been entertaining. I would have liked to see Stanton try to chase Baez around the infield.
See a couple of the Mets go out there with a sling, try to get David and Goliath about it.
Right. I mean, look, if nothing else, at least it added some spice to the Yankee Mets rivalry, because I feel like they've always been like, everybody knows that the fan bases don't like each other, but when they play each other, and they play each other every year because of the interleague thing that they've got going on. To me, it was always a joke that there wasn't more spice. This is the first time there has been spice in the Yankees Mets rivalry since when Roger Clemens chucked the broken bat
got all roided out and threw it at Piazza.
Right. You know, one roided guy threw it at another roided guy. And then of course it sounded just like something that Clemens said at the time. He goes, "Oh, I was just throwing it out of the way." Horse crap.
I thought it was a ball, is what he said. I thought it was the ball.
Yeah. Horse
you thought a charred piece of wood was the ball. You gotta. You
thought what is essentially an illegal weapon was a baseball. So, anyways, It was a great baseball weekend. And when we look at real quick, we're going to look at the Atlanta Braves, and then we're going to go into the AL East. So the Braves right now, if you look at the standings, they're 4.5 up on the Phillies, who lost to they lost they lost I believe 2 of 3 to the Rockies this weekend after losing the first one. So they have this easy schedule, but they're not taking advantage of it. The Braves took 2 of 3 against the Marlins. They played terrible Saturday, but they did get the bookend wins as they head into an off day today. But you look at what's going on in the rest of the National League East. I don't believe anyone else is playing today in the National League East. No, I'm sorry. The Mets are at home against the Cardinals. So that's a 7:10 first pitch. It'll be Wainwright versus Rich Hill. That should be a lot of fun. That's serious because the Cardinals are still hanging in the wild card race. So these two teams, although it's an outside shot, these two teams are still technically in the wild card race. We'll get those standings up here in 1 second. But when you look at it for the Braves, because we won't come back until Friday with Braves country, the Braves are going to host the Rockies. Now they're going to have to face John Gray on Tuesday. That's a tough matchup. And they're going to send Tuki Toussaint out there, who's looked terrible his last couple of outings. So he's got to right the ship, or I think they'll put him in the bullpen and they'll bring Drew Smiley back out. Huascar Ynoa pitched okay the other night, but just he hasn't been on the level he was earlier in the year. He'll pitch on Wednesday and then Thursday against the Rockies. That is going to be an early start. It's a getaway day because the Braves are going to send Ian Anderson against Marquez. Friday begins the long road trip where the Braves are going to go to the Giants. They're going to go to the Diamondbacks, and they'll finish it up at the Padres. So you get the Rockies at home, and then you've got a very tough road test before the final week of the season, which is going to be, just as luck would be, at Phillies and Mets. So they hope to have everything sewn up, but I don't think they will because I think they're going to struggle on the road. So that's what you got there. And as far as the Phillies during this week, who do the Phillies have? They're going to be hosting the Cubs. So that's why the Braves have got to go out and they've got to get the W's against the Rockies. I mean, they almost need to sweep the Rockies because I think they're going to have a hard road. The Phillies have such an incredibly easy schedule in the last couple of weeks before they head to Atlanta. Now the Braves have weathered the storm so far. I'm not going to worry about the Mets until the Mets leapfrog the Phillies. And they're only a half game behind them, but I'm not going to worry about them. But I do wonder, Timus, if all that brouhaha, that dust up, could that ignite the Mets? And they did get good news yesterday. I believe DeGrom is going to try to pitch off the mound today. So they're hoping to get him back. They're basically trying to get him back for that final week of the season. Do you think that they could springboard, or the Mets just going to implode like they always do?
No, I mean, stranger things have happened, and they're a half a game. I mean, that's one day can switch that over, so it's well within the possibilities. I mean, they're a half a game out of the wild card. You said that's
no. They're a half game behind the Phillies in the NL East.
Oh, okay.
So they're 5 out of the NL East, 4.5 are the Phillies. Now, if you look at the NL wild card, which is what we're going to focus on the American League, because for all intents and purposes, all the division races are over in the American League.
Yeah, they're done.
The Rays are running away with the East. They're 9 up on Toronto, Boston, 10 on Yankees. The White Sox, 12 up on the Indians. It's a wrap. And then Houston is 6.5 up on both Seattle and Oakland. There's no way that Houston will do a lot of things, but they're not going to choke that away. Nope. But you look at the wild card standings right now, and in the National League, now the Dodgers have sewn up the first wild card. They're 16 games in front of the next closest team to them. So worst case scenario, the Dodgers are going to host the wild card game, right? They're still trying to catch the Giants. They're 2.5 behind the Giants. You got 21 days left in the season. A lot of things can happen. So I don't think that's a done deal. But the rest of the National League, what they're fighting for is you got the Padres and Reds in a tie right now for the wild card. But the Padres are in the middle of a very brutal stretch where they're playing the Dodgers, Giants, Dodgers, and Giants. That's consecutive. Okay. I just don't see any way that they're going to survive that. I think they're going to be absolutely exhausted. Then they got to play the Braves. And even though they're at home, it's not like Atlanta's just kind of going through the motions. Atlanta's going to give you their best because they're trying to make the playoffs themselves. So you've got those two are in a dead-footed tie, and then the St. Louis Cardinals are just one game out of the wild card, which I'm telling you, a few weeks ago, they were left for dead. And they made very minimal trades, and everyone kind of I scoffed. I was like, what the hell are they doing? Are they even trying? And somehow the Cardinal way, they're right in it.
Every single year.
Behind them, the Phillies are 2.5 back, and then the Mets are 3 back total. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. You got 5 teams separated by 3 games in the National League wild card. Now, I think it might be too much to ask for the Mets and Phillies to jump that many teams because you've only got the one slot. You're not going to get that second wild card. In fact, the Dodgers are really close to clinching a playoff spot. So that's what you've got down the stretch, and that's why that Cardinals-Mets series is so big, because if the Mets can go in there and take care of the Cardinals, they would get that much closer to the wild card. And looking at the games that we're going to be dealing with over the next few days, we mentioned Cardinals and Cardinals and Mets. They're in the National League. San Diego's at San Francisco. We just talked about they're just in a brutal stretch. And then the rest of the week, the early part of the week, I won't worry about the weekend and whatnot. But the first part of the week, this is what your National League matchups are going to be. Cincinnati's at Pittsburgh, so the Reds have a chance to take a commanding lead in that in a wild card. The Phillies at home against the Cubs. So those are 2 teams that are in the thick of it that are going to be really. I mean, I don't want to say they're gimme wins, but man, the Cubs are basically a double-A team at this point. And then you got the Cardinals and Mets fighting it out. And then, of course, we just talked about the San Diego's in San Francisco. That's just, I mean, it's over. I mean, good God. Tomorrow they're sending Jake Arrieta to the mound. Like, that guy should still be pitching. He's got a 7.04 ERA. That's just a body to eat innings is all that is at that point.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and transition over into the American League and the American League wild card, what that's going to look like, because it is wide open at this point.
Welcome back, Toronto.
Wow.
Yeah.
9 of their last 10.
I did not see that coming.
It's funny. Sean on the Wednesday show mentioned it a few weeks ago. And I thought he was nuts because they had 4 games in Yankee Stadium. I'm like, that's going to be, and somehow they swept them.
They swept them.
You remember how hot the Yankees were before that happened?
I do. Yes, I do.
Absolutely insane. I don't see how in the hell They did that, but they did it. Their offense is phenomenal, and I never questioned their offense. I was more questioning, could they do it defensively?
And starting pitching was suspect, we'll say, but
that's the most polite thing you could say about,
right. But you got to tip your cap, man. I looked down at the schedule one day, at the standings one day, and I'm like, oh my, they're tied with the Sox now. It's
right now, if the season ended today, the American League wild card game would be in Toronto with Boston, and the Yankees would be on the outside looking in. They're one game out.
Yeah.
I still think, in my heart of hearts, Yankees and Boston are going to find a way to get in there. But first of all, the Red Sox can't get out of the way with COVID.
No. Yeah, we lost Sale, COVID, and
how long is he out now?
10 days. He's got another week from today. I think today's day 3 or 4.
Thank you, Chris Sale, for that in the middle of the fantasy baseball playoffs, man.
Yeah, I'm sure he was thrilled when he found out himself.
Oh, the double hooks were just jumping for joy. I mean, we had an outside chance to make a run at this rotisserie championship. He goes down. I've already got DeGrom on the IL, Glass now on the IL, Soroka. That guy's just eating cheese sandwiches and taking up room on the bus. I mean, I get freaking the news of Sale. Like, are you kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah, he's
now Bogarts came back Saturday or Friday? Yeah. So
Bogart's back, Ottavino's back.
Who are they missing right now? Is it just Sale?
No.
That's what I thought. I thought it was a whole list of players.
Well, he was the 10th player in the last month to go on the COVID list. I'm not 100% sure. I could list you the names. No, Pavetta. I'm sorry, I said Ottavino. Pavetta is the one who just came back from the COVID list. And we got, Kike. We got Kike back.
Philip Valdez becomes the Red Sox 12th positive test of COVID. That was 18 hours ago. But I don't still doing that. I don't see a complete updated list on who they're missing right now. Kike, I see there. I see Sale, Phillips, Valdez, which I believe is a relief pitcher for y'all. And then that's all I see. But this is one small.
And I think, though, we're coming out of, because, for a while there, I was like, at the beginning of Major League, where they're looking at the newspaper like, who are these guys? That's what I was thinking. Every time somebody came in the batter's box wearing a Red Sox uniform, I'm like, I've never heard of this person. But everybody was gone there for a while. But I think we're coming out of it. Hopefully it's run its course. We can't use that as an excuse. The same thing happened to the Yankees. Same thing happened, with so many other teams. I'm just hoping it's ran its course.
Yeah, the Yankees had a guy pitching last night that was a AA pitcher. They said the reason was they didn't have any other bodies. They just had to go out there and hope for the best.
Yeah, it's horrible, but can't do anything about it. So we just got to suck it up and try to score runs,
Why these guys are not getting vaxxed, I'll never understand. Like, dude, you got so much money on the line. Like, you've got to be pissing off your teammates, right? Like the ones that are vaxxed, they've got to be going, are you serious? Are you serious right now? Lamar Jackson in the NFL, he's already gotten positive twice in like the last 6 months. And everyone's kind of rolling their eyes going, dude, seriously? You know how much money's on the line every time you go, whoopsie daisy. Oops, I did it again. I forget who said it first, but last year someone said it very eloquently. They said, if they'll just quit testing, all these positives will quit showing up.
That is true. That is true.
Oh, but man, we've got so we've got Toronto, Boston, and the Yankees separated by a game, and then you can't look past it because while they're beating each other up, you've got Seattle and Oakland. If one of those teams gets hot, I'm not saying you got to worry about both of them. You got to worry about one of them getting hot because just the way the schedule lays out, they're all going to run into each other, right?
Yeah, let's hope Seattle doesn't get hot in the next 3 days. But yeah, I see your point.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those situations where you got to keep an eye on it. If you're a fan of anyone in the AL East, you've got to be keeping an eye on your when you're waking up in the morning. First thing you got to be doing is checking the score out west, because all right, Yankees play the Minnesota Twins today.
Ugh.
Gant versus Luis Gil. I'm telling you right now, Gant is a bum. They're gonna pound him. Okay. He pitched for the Cardinals, and I watch a lot of Cardinals baseball. They couldn't trade him fast enough. He'll have one good outing every 5 or 6, so maybe you get lucky. But I'm telling you right now, Gant is a guy that is like a number 4, number 5 pitcher in a rotation. That's his ceiling. What his reality is, he's a number 5 pitcher on the Minnesota Twins because they're 17 games under 500. There's like 3 or 4 years left to control on it. And the Cardinals couldn't get rid of him fast enough. When the Cardinals won't you're like, no, we're good, man. But dude, you can get them for cheap for the next 3 or 4 years. We good, man. We good. You can have them. We good.
We'll trade him for nachos.
Now, strangely enough, you become a big Tampa Bay Rays fan tonight because they're going to be in Toronto. And I'm going to have to switch. I swear, man, USA Today's got the worst website on the planet. I don't even know why I still have it in my little bar where I can go over there. Every time I go over there, like, they don't know the starting pitchers, and we're like 6 hours from first pitch. Like, would somebody wake up, set the alarm a little earlier on Monday mornings? So we've got, it's Yarborough versus Manoah. That's a really good pitching matchup. And of course, the Red Sox, they'll be Erod versus Logan Gilbert. I need a really low scoring game in that game, by the way. I got both those pitchers in fantasy. We're in the championship. I know you care dearly about my fantasy baseball team.
I do. I really do.
You really should, because every time I win a championship, I always send money your way, I feel like. It might get lost in the mail, but I do send it your way. Tomorrow, the Yankees are going to be playing the Orioles for a 3-game set, while Boston's out west playing around with the Mariners. And this could be an issue. So the Yankees get to play the Orioles while the Rays and the Blue Jays are battling, the Red Sox and Seattle's battling. That's the Yankees' opportunity to make up ground.
Right. But then as soon as we come back, you see who we have, right? We got Baltimore, 2 games with the Mets, 3 games at home.
Well, that's why the Yankees, I think it's unexcusable if you're a Yankee fan, if you don't sweep Baltimore. And normally I say you can't expect to sweep in Major League Baseball. That's ridiculous. One good starting pitcher out there can ruin it. But the Blue Jays just hung 22 runs on the Orioles. 22, Toronto. I'm not giving you a CFL score, y'all. 22 runs. They've got to. I think they got to sweep, because like what you're saying, now who is Oakland playing? For some reason it's not popping up here. I know they're playing someone, but
I'm pretty sure they're playing someone.
I just, for whatever reason, I don't have it in front of me. The A's are not pop. Okay, they're playing the Royals the early part of the week. So the A's ought to be cruising. The Yankees ought to be cruising. Meanwhile, Seattle, Boston, and the Blue Jays are going to be fighting for their lives. And this is where you got to take advantage of that, because if you're a Yankees fan, because come this weekend, Baltimore and Boston are going to play. And the Blue Jays are going to host the Twins. That didn't seem fair. And the Yankees will play the Indians. Indians still have some punch in them. They've got good pitching. So you can't expect to sweep the Indians. You have to expect that you're going to sweep the Baltimore Orioles.
Yeah, you go into that expecting a sweep. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. As far as end of the year schedule, the Red Sox are in a much better position to win more than the Yankees and everything. Our schedule coming up is pretty light, but the Yankees are only going to lose for so long. And you need to turn it around, play Baltimore, you know.
Would you be okay with the Red Sox just not getting swept in Seattle? In other words, lose 2 or 3 because you know you're going to be able to make up ground later.
Would I be okay with it? No. Would I be on suicide watch?
You know, we had this conversation a couple of weeks ago when I said if I could give you a split with the Rays and Red Sox right now 2-2, and you wouldn't take it, and then what ended up happening? The Rays won 3 or 4 in that series.
Yep.
I think if I'm a Red Sox fan, assuming no injuries, you told me I was going to lose 2 of the next 3, but everyone would be healthy going into the Baltimore series, I'd take it right now. I go, screw it, man. We'll do it.
I just don't want to lose this series. We are hanging on by tooth and nail here.
Well, I get that part of it, and I know you don't ever want to lose a game, but I'm just saying that if you are being realistic, Seattle's a very tough team, and that's a tough place to play. If you're going to tell me I'm not going to get swept, so worst case scenario, the very worst case scenario, you leave it out of there. Let's say the Yankees sweep and you lose 2 or 3. You only be a game behind the Yankees anyways. And you're about to go play Baltimore and all the other bozos. Are there any more games left, by the way, between Yankees and Red Sox?
I feel yes. Like next weekend.
It's okay. So it's not the final
24th, 25th, 26th, and that is in Boston.
Okay. I do know that the Yankees finish it off playing Tampa and Toronto. So, okay. So they'll be on all right. So the Yankees looking at this after the Baltimore series in Baltimore, they're going to come home and play Cleveland and Texas, but you got to get momentum because after that it's at Boston, at Toronto, and home against Tampa. But Tampa's not going to be playing for anything. So you might get Tampa's bums in the Saturday and Sunday matchups, which is concerning for Red Sox and Blue Jays fans.
And I don't know you think Cashy would just throw those games away? That doesn't seem like the way the Rays.
He's not going to throw them away, but he doesn't want to get his guys hurt. They'll play Friday because you don't want rust. They'll probably play most of them on Saturday, depending on if anyone's banged up, but nobody's playing on Sunday. Sunday's going to be, let's see, because especially in September, you can open up, you have 40 guys to choose from to make a 28-man roster. Sunday, that final game of the season, Sunday is going to be the Tampa Bay Rays putting their bullpen from the minor league out there. So you don't want to be relying on that. We all know Tampa Bay's got a good minor league system, but you don't want to be relying on that.
No.
Where they're going to be
while the Yankees are doing that, our last 6 games are Baltimore and the Nationals.
Right. So you've got a chance to make up ground because the big advantage you have is the last week of the season, the first half of it, they're at Toronto, and those two are going to be fighting to the death. Right. It's just
if we go in and win 2 out of 3 in the Yankees series, and then we have Baltimore and Washington, I'm going to feel pretty good about our chances at playing in October. Pretty good.
When you look at Toronto, because we haven't really even talked about Toronto's schedule, but we talk about how they're playing Tampa and Minnesota this week. Next week, they got to play Tampa again. So they play Tampa 6 of the next 9 games. You need Tampa to go on fire and just blow their doors off is what you need. Because after that, they play Minnesota 4 games. Oof. They're going to get that Yankees series, but then they get Baltimore at home for the last 3 games of the season. Oof. You don't want to be chasing anyone down with Baltimore's your hope.
You're not hanging your hopes on Baltimore for anything.
You don't want Baltimore to be your Obi-Wan Kenobi.
No.
Baltimore Orioles, your only hope. Oh man. Oh man.
Well, we had a good run. I'll see you all in April. That's pretty much the way that's gonna go.
And can we speak to the fact how ridiculous it is that between Boston, New York, Toronto, and Tampa. I know you're always going to have an odd man out because it's 5-team divisions. Why the hell aren't the 4 of them playing each other that final weekend? I could have told you 5 years ago the Baltimore Orioles were not going to be in the playoff race October 1st, 2021. Why is Baltimore involved in anyone's postseason? That's asinine. You take the 4 teams in every division, the ones who are projected to have the 4 best records, you have them play each other in some form or fashion. I think it's ridiculous that we don't finish the season with a Boston New York series every year. But can we have Baltimore play the Marlins? Right? Can we have the Pirates play the Royals every year?
I think ticket sales is what drives those decisions. And if, let's be honest, if Baltimore played the Marlins, even their parents wouldn't show.
Put the game in Miami, no one's going to show anyways.
Correct. That's probably the reason why. Probably that's the answer to your question. Money.
I'm just saying, put the 14.
It's better for baseball. It's better for baseball fans. I don't disagree with you, but I'm thinking the reason it doesn't happen is because they know if Baltimore is playing the Pirates or somebody like that, they won't make enough money to pay the hot dog vendors. So
put the game in Miami where no one's going anyways. That's my easy answer.
They might show up just so they can get a snapshot of Jeter up in his booth or something.
Put the game in Baltimore, but do a double header on that Saturday so that Sunday they can go watch the Ravens. There's no way on God's green earth the Baltimore Orioles we're going to compete this year. All right, well, let's go ahead and get on out of here. What is your walk-off for the day, sir?
This week, I will go ahead, tip my cap to and congratulate Walker and especially Jeter in the Hall of Fame. Jeter was good is still good. He was tough. He was tough to cheer for.
That was a really good speech.
Yeah.
Jeter,
yeah.
Walker, but Jeter's speech was it was typical Jeter too. Wasn't flashy. It was just to the point.
Yeah. But no one ever dispute that either one of them belong, especially Jeter. And first ballot, no doubt he was classy throughout.
It took too long for Walker to get voted in, by the way.
Yeah.
That was like his 9th year, 10th year, whatever it was for him to get voted in. That's a little absurd.
That long? I didn't think he'd been playing. Hadn't been playing that.
Oh yeah. He was like right at the end. He either had 1 more or 2 more goes. This was either his last go at it or he had 1 more after this. I think he had 1 more after this so he didn't get in. But that's a little absurd because they always leaned on the whole, well, he played in the Coors Field. That's his fault.
No.
Yeah, it's just
and
it's the same thing with Todd Helton.
Did he succeed? Yeah. And
it's the same thing with Todd Helton. Todd Helton belongs in the Hall of Fame. They're not voting for him because they're saying, well, he had all these different numbers in Colorado than anywhere else. Well, okay. Also, if you look at most Major League Baseball players, they usually hit better at home because they're just more comfortable with the backdrops and what they see every day. I just think it's asinine.
Oh, me too. And they still got to go out and hit it. You know,
if you're not going to vote these guys in, then just say that stadium's illegal to play in.
Yeah.
Right. We used to hear these arguments with, remember when Andre Dawson won the MVP in 87, I think it was, and everyone was claiming that he shouldn't be the MVP, not because he was on a last place team, which is a valid argument, is because he played in Wrigley Field and the wind blows out. It also blows in. What the hell is your point?
How many MVPs have come out of Yankee Stadium?
Right. Red Sox. What the hell? Are we never going to vote for a right-hander in the Red Sox?
Yeah, because Fenway's 2 feet tall? No.
Because of the Green Monster.
That's not even an argument. It's
that same point. Should we not vote for Jacob deGrom ever for the Cy Young because he pitches in a pitcher's park? The hell are we talking about?
You know nothing about baseball if you're making that.
Sadly, they've got too many people have votes in this. There's
Yeah,
too
well-
many, there's too many votes. Everybody that writes a blog has a vote nowadays.
Right. I mean, there was a guy that did not vote Jeter in. There was one person that did not vote Jeter in.
I bet you he wasn't in Canton.
Well, Jeter did mention him, you know.
I bet they were looking for him.
I bet he doesn't ride the subway in New York anytime soon.
Yeah. I bet it wouldn't take much for Jeter to pay Rogner Ordorov to hunt that dude down. My walk-off for the day is it's football season, so Monday Night Football is tonight and everything, but there's some really good baseball, and don't sleep on baseball just because football season's going. I feel like people do this every year. I'm a little guilty of it myself, where you kind of ignore baseball on Saturdays and Sundays because of the football, but you're going to miss out on some great games. When I was watching the Red Zone yesterday and watching a couple of the NFL games going on, I still had the Braves Marlins kicking, man. Like, you can't just ignore it like it's not existent, because you're going to miss out on some great action these next 3 weekends. And
they still count, man. And right now they really
count as much as they did as the ones you were glued to in June.
Absolutely. If not more.
And they're going to be fun. You're going to see some really fun stuff as the season winds down. I still think Major League Baseball should really think about bumping their schedule up a little bit, but I know I'm always going to lose that argument. But when they first started playing the championships in October, football was not king. They should really think about doing some things with that schedule, but we'll see what happens. All right, brother, we'll see you next Monday. Thanks everyone for joining us here on the Braves Country mashup, as we're doing with the AL East from here on in, as we will be taking you all the way into the playoffs and hopefully beyond. Go Braves.
Go Sox.
You're in Braves country.